Hello, my lovely friend, and welcome to the Soul Care Intuitive Podcast. I'm your host, Melinda Grubbs, and in this podcast, we're going to show you that you're not just ordinary, you're extraordinary. I never had any spiritual experiences as a child, and I did not discover my own psychic abilities until my late 30s. I love to share all that I have learned to show you that we all already have these skills inside of us, just screaming to be let loose. So if you're ready to awaken your soul, sit back, relax, and enjoy the ride. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Soul Care Intuitive Podcast. This is one of my favorites because I have the most special guest here. This is my mom, Mary. We're going to be talking about our family, about me, about my spiritual awakening, and it's going to be a really fun episode. So, Mom, go ahead and say hi.
Hi, everyone. Let me just say I'm so proud of my daughter. And if you haven't had an opportunity yet, you need to go on Amazon and order her book, and she'll talk more about that at the end of the meeting.
Yes, thank you, Mother. Okay, so what I want to talk about and have the audience experience is because I have a lot of people reaching out to me saying that they're afraid to tell their family or their friends about anything that's spiritually happening to them because it's still considered pretty woo-woo or like off topic. So I want you to talk about when I first told you about what was happening with me, what you thought, what you felt about it, and just let the viewers know like a point of view from a mother.
Yes. So, of course, in your book, you go into the story about when you were in the restaurant with your friend Gabe,
Yes.
and that you had this feeling come over you, and I'm like, okay, what is she talking about? What does she mean? And so you got into more detail with me about things that you were seeing after your dad had passed away so tragically. And so my first thought was, can she talk to my mom? Because my mom and I, as my daughter and I are, we're very close. And so at my mom's passing, it was a difficult time because my mother was not feeling well. Um, and I think a lot of viewers will understand when they're that sick,
Yeah.
they're mean.
Yes.
I'll say that. She was mean, and she wanted me to get out of her room and all of that. And so I wanted an opportunity, um, I could cry sometimes, to let her know that she hurt me,
Yes.
but that after you said that you had these abilities, I asked you if you could talk to my mom and have my, what's my mom really feeling at that moment. And I was so happy that you have this ability because you gave me peace. You gave me peace in the fact that my mom said that she was sorry that
Yes.
she did that, and I know she was. But for me, when you're in your feelings, it's hard not to continue to feel those.
Correct. I agree.
But when you after you spoke to her and she said that she was sorry and she should have never said that to me and that she knew that I was always there to take care of her, um, it gave me some real peace. And I think that is the gift that you have.
Thank you, Mom. I want to mention one thing too. When I was reading for Grandma, she had mentioned a wedding dress that I didn't know anything about. Can you talk to the audience about like what I got from Grandma and what it was, what it meant?
Okay, so my mom, she had like a 50th wedding anniversary, and she actually remarried my dad because when she was 16, she eloped.
I
And
love
they
that
went
story.
to a different state because she was only 16. So they went to a different state and got married, and they came back. And my mom went to her house, and my dad went to his house, and no one knew they were married for about a month or so. So when they had their 50th wedding anniversary, she wanted to have like a big celebration, and she wanted a wedding dress, and my dad was in a tux and all of that. So after my mom had passed away, my sister-in-law was here staying with my dad for a little bit. And we decided instead of giving my mother's wedding dress away, we made handkerchiefs out of my mother's dress.
Yes.
And so my sister-in-law sewed the handkerchiefs and she had the lace around them. I have them in my room. I still have them.
Me too.
She put little flower beads on them, and we gave those to the people that were important to my mom.
That was so, I remember when I felt grandma saying that to me, talking about the wedding dress. And I was so afraid to say to you because I knew that they eloped, but I
Right.
didn't realize that they had had a 50th. So I kept saying, "Oh God, I know there's no wedding dress," but I'm so glad I said it because grandma was saying wedding dress. And you know how your mom, my grandma is. She's like, "Hello, tell her," like
I'm
pushing
here,
on me.
don't ignore me.
So I thought that that was really cool. Okay.
It
So when I first told you about all of these abilities, you accepted it, you were open about it, you were excited about it.
was. I really
Yes.
was. And I do think that it's a gift. And I think everybody has it. They just don't have the ability to bring it forward.
Yes, I understand. Yeah, I agree. I never thought that way my whole life because, as you know, I never had psychic abilities. I never saw spirits. I never ran into your room and said, "Mom, there's somebody at the edge of my bed." I never had that until after my dad died and I started going searching for more and wanting to have more communication with him. I do want to bring up right after my dad passed away, before I knew that I could connect to him on my own, I went to go see a medium. Do you remember this?
Yes.
And she connected to my dad. And you and my dad kind of had, after your divorce, a falling out, we'll say.
Yes.
But after my dad died, she was connecting to him and showing me how your house looked and how my dad was protecting you and watching over you and making sure that you were okay. Would you talk to the audience a little bit about what you think happens after we pass away? Even if we're angry or mad at somebody, what do you think happens after we pass away?
So after you telling me this and how she described my living room exactly the way my living room looked,
I mean,
and
she
that,
knew where your lamp was, your table was. She knew which way your couch was positioned in your house. It was
yes,
insane.
yes, and the color and everything. I mean, she got it exactly right. Um, I really think him coming through to you like that and telling you that is that all is forgiven.
I agree.
Whatever bad feelings there were, it was his way of letting it go, and
Yes,
my way to let him feel it and release it, and for me to do the same.
I
To feel
agree.
it, release it, and let it go. And that once you pass on to the other side, life is not, their life is not about what happened to them while they were alive. It's what they're going to do now that they're gone.
I agree. Like healing and helping their family, just being there, forgiving themselves for the things that they have said or done, forgiving you for what you've said or done, forgiving
Right.
others. I do feel like this spiritual journey that I'm on, I've really discovered a lot about forgiveness and love and compassion for each other. And especially once we're on the other side, it's so much easier to see that when we're
Right.
here
Right.
in this physical world, there's so much competition and everybody's judging and afraid and they don't want to share their feelings. But when we're on the other side, we're nothing but love. And so I really loved that my dad had come through to give those messages to you, to
Right.
let you know that all is okay and all is better than okay. Like he still wanted to protect you and make sure that you were okay. And I thought that,
And that he's happy for you and me.
yes, he's very happy that we have found our relationship together again. And I
Yes.
completely agree. So I do want to talk about my daughter. I've mentioned in a few of my YouTube videos a while ago, and everybody's so curious about it. That time when she was learning how to talk, she's about 3 or 4. She wasn't able to put like whole sentences together to like really formulate what was happening, but she kept saying to me, "You're not my first mommy."
Mhm.
And you had an experience with that as well. Do you want to tell the audience about that?
Yes. So I was babysitting her for you, and we're sitting there talking, and I'm sure I was talking. I don't know how the exact conversation came up, but I'm sure I was talking about you. And she said to me, that's not my only mommy." And I looked at her and I said, "Brooke, what are you talking about, honey?" And she goes, "That's not my only mommy." And I said, "Yes, that's your mommy." And she said, no, Nana, I had a mommy before this. And I'm looking at her and I said, what do you mean you had a mommy before this? I had a mommy before this, and we all died in a car crash. And I'm like, okay, now I'm a little freaked out.
Yes.
And I'm like, okay, is she getting this from Mindy? Where is she getting it from? So I talked to you about it and I said, you know what Brooke said to me? And you said to me, oh, she's told me that before, that I'm not her only mommy.
Yeah,
And I think that when we're younger, we're more open
I agree.
to those kind of things. That you see videos where kids are looking around a room because they see something, they
Yes.
see someone, and yet as we get older, we lose those abilities to either see or feel someone around us. But
Yes.
she was very insistent that you were her second mommy, and
Yes.
that her mommy and her died in a car crash.
Yes. I remember when I was talking to her about that and I said, honey, you came out of my body. I saw you. That was you. And she's like, no, she was very angry when I kept saying that. And so I let her talk and I let her speak. And this was before I even knew any of the skills or things that I could do. And I remember her being very adamant with me as well, saying that she died in this car crash that, it ended up getting on fire with her mom, her dad, herself, her brother, and her sister. And she kept saying to me, I miss my family. I miss my family. And now looking back with what I can do and what I can see, I know that she was experiencing a past life that she had been in. Whether it had been the most recent one or another one, I'm not sure because she wasn't able to formulate much more than that. And I would ask her, where did you live? What did you look like? What does your mommy and daddy look like? And she couldn't really formulate those words yet. And as she got older, she completely forgot that she ever saw that or experienced that.
Yeah.
But I like the point that you said when we're younger, it's much easier for us to see and understand those things because we don't really have the constructs of the social environment telling us, no, you're wrong. And as we get older, those things, you get afraid and you're judged. And so you shut those things off about yourself. But
Right.
I do remember that. That was super amazing that she was able to remember that. And she was just so clear and concise that this is real. I loved it. Okay, I
Yes.
do want to talk about your mom. So, a lot of people talk about how these psychic abilities kind of run in the family, but I don't remember any of us really being able to do much psychic stuff. But I do know that there's been things that have happened to some of us. So, like, I know your mom had an instance in the bathroom mirror, and you had an instance with a rocking chair. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah. So when my mom and dad were first married, I think maybe a couple of years into their marriage, her grandmother passed away. And my mom was real close with her too. My mom would go over and take care of her. She was very sick at the end, and my mom would go over and take care of her. And I actually have my great grandmother's wedding ring, which my mom had, and then my mom gave to me. Anyway, my mom and dad lived in this little apartment, but there was like a hallway that led to their bedroom. And so she was walking down the hallway, turning the lights out, and she looked into the bathroom and she said there was a huge glowing object, and it was her grandmother's face looking at her in the bathroom window.
Wow.
And I think maybe she had some abilities, but again, when you're older, you're thinking, okay, what is this? You know, you're more skeptic to those kind of things. And so I think she said she wasn't afraid because she knew that she would never hurt her.
Right.
But you don't think about the abilities you have with that.
Yeah.
Um, then when we moved, we left the state that I grew up in and we moved. Um, my mom, we got in a U-Haul and we drove clearly across country. I rode in the back of the U-Haul most of the way. Those were the days, okay? So
Yes.
anyway, we before we left the house, her dad had passed away, and there was a lot of turmoil with her dad's passing as well. And so before we shut the door on the U-Haul, my mom said, okay, Dad, come on and come with us. And so when we got to our new home, my mom said, I don't think he came. And I said, well, maybe he needs time or whatever. So years later, when I married your dad, um, I'm in bed and I wake up from sleeping, and my rocking chair that was in my bedroom was rocking, and freaked me out a little bit. You
Yeah.
know, to people that are not, um, it's not that I wasn't open to it. It was that I didn't have enough knowledge
Right.
about it.
Yeah.
So seeing that, it kind of scared me. And I said to him, I know that's you, Pop, and you're scaring me. Please don't do that. And all of a sudden, the rocking chair stopped rocking.
Wow.
So I knew he was there in my room trying to tell me that he was watching over me.
That's so amazing. I love hearing those stories like that. I wish that grandma had been more open to her abilities and wanted to explore them more, because then maybe our family could have had more of that experience and knowledge, like you were talking about. But I only remember that one story and the rocking chair story. And really, our family never really talked about any psychic gifts. Like, none of my cousins or anybody else ever talked about it. So it's like, it was hard for me to come out at first because I didn't want my family to think differently of me. And luckily, you're my best friend. So, it worked perfectly. The way that I came out, I guess you could say, to you, I felt so comfortable to do it. But it's just so crazy that nobody else really in our family has any psychic or mediumship kind of abilities, but these like little one-off stories. So tell us about the time that grandma touched your back.
So my dad was sick in the hospital. My dad lives with me. He's in his 90s. So I think this was probably maybe 3 years ago, 4 years ago.
And
He was in
grandma
the
passed in
hospital.
2010.
Yeah, my mom passed in 2010.
Okay.
But this was like maybe 3 or 4 years ago, maybe five. My dad was in the hospital. He had some surgery, and I was in the house by myself. I think my husband was on a trip or something, and I was in the house by myself, and I'm walking down my hallway, and I kind of looked in my dad's room, but of course he wasn't there. And as I'm walking down the hallway, now I feel my mom's here right this very minute as I'm talking to you.
Yes.
Um, okay, somebody's touching me. She brushed the back of my neck, and I said to her, okay, Mom, I know that's you, but don't do that to me because you're scaring me.
Yes.
And I tell you quite often, I feel her sometimes. And like you said, my mom was um, not a tough woman, but my mom
Insistent.
was what?
Insistent.
Insisted. Uh, and so sometimes I think she's like, okay, I'm here, I'm here, I'm here. And just as we're talking about this, I can feel her behind me right now.
So sweet.
She's there.
That typically does happen when you start talking about your loved ones. They will come next to you or close to you or try to give you a sign that they're right there. But that's very typical when you start talking about them for them to come forward. I remember the time that we were at the dinner table and your dad started talking about his brother Georgie, who's passed away. And then all of a sudden I could feel Georgie right next to me, whom I had never met because they had stayed back in the state you guys had moved from, and it's like clear across the country. So I had never met Uncle Georgie, unless when I was a little kid, but nothing that I remember. And then all of a sudden, he starts talking about Uncle Georgie, and here he is, and he's telling me all this kind of information and all this stuff. How did Grandpa react to that? What did he think?
Um, at first, I don't think he knew how to be open to it.
I agree.
Um, but the more you start talking about stuff, it made sense to him because his brother was very competitive with my dad. And so even my cousins that it's their dad, they were very competitive about they were the best in the family and all that. And a lot of that came from my uncle. And so when you were talking about, oh, he's the best, and it just resonated with my dad that yeah, he's the one who's really talking because you never knew him
Mm-mm.
or his sons or anyone like that.
Right. Or when his brothers started talking to me, Uncle Joey, Uncle
Yes.
Bobby, when they started talking to me too, and I don't remember meeting them or having conversations with them. So it was very humbling for me to be able to connect to family like that, to be able to be able to communicate and still have them close, even though I had never really known them in real life. And then to give that information to grandpa was so awesome and so wonderful. And my grandpa never cries. And when I was talking to Uncle Bobby, I remember him crying, and Uncle George, I remember him crying. And it was just
Yes.
it made me feel really good that I was able to give him that and that I was able to talk to those family members.
I think that really meant a lot to him. For the fact is that we haven't lived in our hometown for more than 40 some years.
Yeah.
So the connection to all of that. Once my mom and dad moved, my dad was the glue that held his whole family together. Every party was at our house. Every get together was at our house. And when my parents moved, that all kind of stopped. And so the closeness wasn't there anymore. But your ability to speak to my uncles brought it full circle.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, one final thing. I know that I don't like to walk up to strangers and give readings, but you've been with me many, many, many times, and you can tell that I have spirits talking to me. And I have on occasion gone up to someone where I feel like spirit is saying to me, it's okay, you can. Can you talk about those moments where how do you know that it's happening to me?
So I can see it in your face. I know by looking at your face that someone is around you and talking to you. And so I know, I think you talk a little bit about it in your book, but we were at an office supply store, and we were there to get our TSA things for the plane. And I'm looking at you and I'm like, somebody's talking to you.
Yes.
And you're saying yes. But you are like that. You don't like to talk to people about it because some people get upset. Some people are very
Right.
skeptical about the whole thing, so they don't
Or you
know
don't
or
know what their
whatever.
relationship was
They
with the
think some.
person.
Oh, I think a lot of people think sometimes it's like an evil spirit, and it's not. It's your loved one saying, "I'm
Yeah.
here. I'm not gone."
Yeah, I
And
agree.
so I said to you, "Somebody's talking to you," and you said, "Yeah," and I said, "Who?" And you said the guy that was helping us, you said to me, his uncle is here. And I said, tell him, tell him. And you were very leery about telling him, but
Yeah.
you approached it in the most perfect way because you said to him, are you open
Yeah.
for this?
Yeah. That's usually the
And
first thing
he
I
said
say
he
if
wanted to
I
hear what
say
you had
anything.
to say. Yeah. And he was like, well, yeah, how do you know that? And how do you know that? And I think for him, it was some peace. And
Yeah.
I think for you, because when they're trying to talk to you and they want you to talk to the people that they're trying, sometimes they're very forceful and pushy.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
they want you to like go, 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 talk to that person. And I think for you, sometimes, again, I can tell in your face when somebody's around you and talking to you that once you've talked to the person, the relief comes over your body.
It does. It does.
Like, okay, I've said what you needed me to say to them, and now it's time for you to move on. And they feel at peace that they had what they needed to say was
Yeah.
released, and it gives you a release.
It does. It absolutely does. But that experience with that gentleman and his uncle was really awesome.
Yeah.
He said at first he was so skeptical, and by the end of it, he was like almost in tears and really thanking me. So I appreciated that kind of full circle moment. But yes, I usually when I'm out in public and they try to talk to me, you can tell.
Yes,
And
I
I
can see it right
normally
away.
yes. And normally I won't say anything to people because sometimes, that's kind of an invasion of privacy as well. And some people, they might not want to talk to that family member. You don't know the situation. So normally I won't say anything, but there are times where I have, and it's been a beautiful experience.
with a little encouragement from your mom.
Yes. Oh, of
Yes,
course. Of course.
yes,
You have to
yes.
be there and encourage me. Say, it's okay. Go ahead.
That's right.
Yes, I
That's
love
right.
that.
But
Okay.
I think the person receiving the message too feels blessed to receive it.
Yeah, I do too. I do too. Especially that gentleman. He was at first skeptical, like I said, but then afterwards he was like, I can't believe this happened. I can't wait to tell my wife, he said.
Yeah,
I love that experience. Like being able to help people connect to their family, letting them know that there's so much more to life than just this experience, that when we leave this body, we are not actually dead. Our soul goes on, our soul holds all of those memories. My dad had never been inside of your house, never one
never.
time been inside of your house. And he was able to describe your house to this medium perfectly. I
Right.
mean, he knew the lamp was on the table next to the couch. I couldn't believe it. So it just helps to prove that there is life after this, that when this body dies, we don't die.
Right.
I mean, of course, it's still hard. Like, I miss my dad every day. You miss grandma every day.
Right.
But to know that we're going to see them again one day just fills my heart with so much happiness. Would you say the
Yes,
same thing?
I do. And it's funny because you and I talk about it all the time because with my dad's age and everything, and you always tell me, my mom saying, when is he going to get here?
Oh yeah, my grandma's not a very patient person at all. And when I connect to her, she's always telling me, what the hell is taking him so long?
And that's exactly what she would say.
And so we always say, Grandma, okay, we want him to live as long as he is happy and comfortable to live. So you're gonna have to wait.
Yes.
And of course, I
So I
see
know
Grandma
they're
with
all
the
waiting for him.
they are.
And I know that his family is all waiting for him. And that
Yes.
gives me peace to know that when he leaves me,
Yeah.
he's with the people that he loves.
Yes. I see grandma with her rag, like she's got a rag. My grandmother loved to wipe things down constantly. And so like
Yes.
when I see her, she's got the rag. But yes, I connected to Uncle Bobby, Uncle Joey, Georgie, and my grandfather is one of 8 children, and he's the last one that's still alive. And I've seen a vision of them, and they've come to tell me, Alice has come to tell me that's his sister, that they're all waiting for him, all 7 of the siblings and grandma, they're all waiting for him, and they're going to greet him when it's his turn. I'm going to cry. When it's his turn to go, they're going to be there for him. And that's a beautiful thing to think about as well, because we all know that at the end of this, our friends and our family are going to be there to hug us and hold us, and we'll be able to talk to them again.
Yes.
You know what I think about my dad? And we'll all be able to come together. Even you and my dad, we all will be able to come together to forgive and to love and to be together. And that's why I love what I do, because I can bring that to people.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this up. Is there anything else that you wanted to say or share?
Okay. I just want to say again about your book on Amazon.
Yes.
So
You're like my best supporter, always telling
I'm
everybody,
your
strangers
cheerleader.
in the street, hear about my book.
So I'm going to turn it around and turn it back to you and tell us a little bit about your book.
Okay, so I wrote this book, Mediumship is Easy, about the story of how my father was tragically killed by somebody, but how that event sent me on a journey and a path to discover myself, to heal myself, heal my life, and to step into my psychic and mediumship abilities. And so this book is there to help you learn that there's life after this, how you can heal yourself from trauma or traumatic events, and open up the gifts that we all have inside of us. We all are mediums, we all are psychic. Like my mom said in the beginning, I believe that there's a lot of us that have the ability, but either shut it off or we're afraid or we just don't understand or have the knowledge. And this book is going to give you all of that. You're going to be able to open yourself up, heal your life, which I believe is really critical to stepping into your spiritual abilities, and learn how to connect to your friends and family on the other side.
And your book is not just about how to do it. Your book is your whole journey getting there
Yes, yes.
and
So
how it all started with the death of your dad, which was very traumatic for you,
Yes.
and so unexpected,
Yes.
his death, and so it's a personal story too. It's just not a
It
how-to
is.
book, it's a personal story, and that's what I love most about your book.
I've had a lot of people reach out to me to tell me that they really relate to that story because their spiritual gifts opened much later in life, like mine did, after they experienced a traumatic event. So there's a lot of people that have reached out to me to thank me for writing the book because it helped them see that they're not alone and that these things are normal occurrences after a traumatic event. So that makes me feel really good to be able to have that resource for people out there. So it's called Mediumship is Easy. Of course, I'll put links below this podcast and you can get it on Amazon. If you look up Mediumship is Easy, it'll be the first one that shows up.
Let's go to Soul Care Intuitive too.
Yes, my website, soulcareintuitive.com. I have all kinds of amazing things on there. Thanks, Mom.
Yes. Well,
Uh,
you're not one to promote yourself, but I'm going to promote you because
yes,
I think what you do is amazing and it's an amazing gift.
thank you. Soulcareintuitive.com. I'll list that below too. I have courses, journals, free stuff. I'm opening up a membership very soon called Soul Care Awakened. It's going to be a monthly membership that helps you heal yourself, heal your body, your mind, your soul. It's going to have mini courses, mindfulness exercises, meditations, and I'm hoping to have it launch on January 1st. So stay tuned for more information on that. If you want to join my mailing list on soulcareintuitive.com, I highly recommend that because I do share a lot of information. And people on my email list get special offers that I don't put anywhere else. But Mom, thank you so much. This has been the best interview. And I'm so grateful and I love you so much. Thank you for being on my podcast.
If we're not twins, we have matching nails.
Yes, we do. Matching nails. Okay, thank you so much, Mom. Bye, everybody. I'll catch you in the next episode.
Bye, honey.
So, this episode is actually going to launch on November 10th, and that is my grandma and grandpa's wedding anniversary. So, it is a very special episode because my mommy is here, but also because of their anniversary. And, Mom, Grandma, Grandpa, I love you guys.